In this section, we will talk about quadratic equations. A quadratic equation can be written in standard form, that is y equal to ax to the second power plus bx plus c, where a, b, and c are real numbers, and a is not allowed to be zero, because if a is zero, we will have just a linear model. The graphs of quadratic equations called parabolas. The parabola can be opened up or can be opened down. There is a special point in parabola that called a vertex. Sometimes the vertex can be the minimum point of the graph, and sometimes the vertex can be the maximum point of the graph. Y-intercepts are very important, and x-intercepts are very important in parabolas. You have to remember that vertex is an ordered pair, and in order to find x-coordinate of the vertex, you need to use the formula negative b over 2a. You should memorize this formula. And in order to find y-coordinate of the vertex, you need to substitute your answer that you got for x into the equation and calculate y. In order to find y-intercept, you need to substitute 0 for x into the equation and calculate y. And in order to find x-intercept, you have to substitute 0 for y into the equation and find x-intercepts. There are three cases. Sometimes a parabola can have two x-intercepts. Sometimes it will be just one x-intercept, and sometimes parabola doesn't have any x-intercepts at all. In order to solve the equation ax to the second power plus bx plus c equal to 0, you have to use the quadratic formula. And you need to remember this formula for the test, for the final exam. Let's review a couple examples. First of all, we need to solve the equation 8x to the second power plus 7x minus 8 is equal to 0. It's always a good idea to start with a, b, c. A is a coefficient in front of x to the second power. B is a coefficient in front of x, and c is a constant. In this particular case, your a is equal to 8, b is equal to 7, and c is equal to negative 8. Again, we need to use the quadratic formula that we have to memorize. Now we will substitute 7 for b, 8 for a, and negative 8 for c. Let's see how it works. Each time when you substitute a number, you should put it inside of parentheses, here and here and here and here. Now, negative 7 is, we will just drop the parentheses off. We will type this on your calculator inside of parentheses 7 to the second power minus 4 times 8 times negative 8. And if you type it correctly, it will be 305. Right here we have 2 times 8. It will be 16. Now we're ready to calculate. So we will do it like this. Open the parentheses and negative 7 plus square root. Many calculators will open parentheses here. So in this case, don't forget to close the parentheses. Divide by 16 and equal to 0.654. Please try to type this on your calculator, and you should get the same answer. If you don't have the same answer, it means you typed something wrong. Please check it again. And the second solution is you will type, open the parentheses, -7 minus square root of 305, close the parentheses, divide by 16, and the answer is 1.529. So we found two solutions to this quadratic equation. In order to eliminate mistakes, you should write it down A, B, and C, and you have to memorize the quadratic formula. Let's review a different example. Find the x-intercept for the quadratic equation y equal to -3x plus 2x to the second power minus 5. We know that for any x-intercept, y is equal to 0. So we have to substitute 0 for y. And the other things that we should do, we should rewrite this equation in standard form. So x to the second goes first, then x, and then the coefficient. So the equation will look this way. 0 is equal to 2x to the second minus 3x minus 5. Now it will be easy to see your ABC. A is equal to 2, B is -3, and C is -5. Substitute into the quadratic formula, and be careful here. We have -b, so it will be negative here. Your b is -3, so you should put it inside of parentheses. Plus minus, again, -3 you have to put inside of parentheses. Don't lose to the second power, minus 4 times 2 times -5. Let's simplify. Negative and negative will change to positive, so it will be +3 here. You will type the expression under the radical, and it should be equal to 49. And now we're ready to calculate our solutions. It will be 3 plus square root of 49 divided by 4 is equal to 2.5. And the second x-intercept is 3 minus square root of 49 divided by 4 is equal to -1. And again, because we're talking about x-intercepts, it means we are talking about ordered pairs. So your final answer should be written as ordered pairs, 2.5 and 0, and -1, 0. These are our x-intercepts. Let's review one more example. We need to solve the equation 5x to the second power minus 80 is equal to 0. We looked, and this equation looks kind of weird. The x is missing, and to fix this problem, we will just rewrite this equation and add 0x. Now we see that our ABC is A is equal to 5, B is equal to 0, C is equal to -80. It's time to use our quadratic formula, and I will put -0. I will put 0 here inside of parentheses to the second power. and substitute A and C right here. Negative 0, positive 0, it's 0. And for many students, it will be helpful to keep 0 right here. I will calculate on a calculator the expression under the square root, and it's equal to 1600. 2 times 5 is equal to 10. Now we will calculate two solutions. 0 plus square root of 1600 is equal to 10, divided by 10 is equal to 4, and 0 minus square root of 1600 divided by 10 is negative 4. So this quadratic equation has two solutions. One is negative 4 and one is positive 4. Next, we will have a couple word problems. So a diver jumps from a diving board 66 feet above the water. A height of the diver is modeled by the formula h equal to negative 16t to the second power plus 14t plus 36, where the height is in feet and the time is in seconds. This is a graph of the diving board, and I made my own graph in terms of algebra. My horizontal axis is t in seconds. My vertical axis is height in feet. I always keep my ABC, so I will remember and will not make mistakes. Now, the question is, when will the diver reach the highest point? When you see highest or the lowest, it means we are talking about maximum or minimum in real life situation. In algebra, it's equivalent to vertex. In other words, they are asking something about vertex. The vertex in this particular problem is time instead of x, and height is instead of y. Now you read when. When, it means you need to find time. So in other words, you need to find the x coordinate of the vertex. You have to remember the formula. In order to find x coordinate of the vertex, you have to use this formula. Negative b over 2a. Substitute b and a into the formula. You will don't skip this step. You will eliminate a lot of mistakes if you keep this step, and the final answer will be 0.4375. And if you round it to 3 decimal places, it will be 0.438 seconds. It means in 0.438 seconds, the diver will reach the highest point. We have one more question. How many seconds will it take the diver to reach the water? On the graph, so first question was right here, 0.438. Now they're talking, because we were talking about the highest point and x coordinate of the vertex. Now they're asking when the diver will reach the water. It means the height will be equal to 0, and you see in our case it is an x-intercept. So we need to substitute 0 for height and solve the quadratic equation. Okay, let's do it. So it will be 0 equal to negative 16t to the second power plus 14t plus 36. We know our ABC already, so we're ready to use the quadratic formula. Negative 14 plus minus square root 14 to the second power minus 4 times negative 16 and times 36 over 2 times negative 16. We will simplify. It will be 14 plus minus square root, and if you calculate this part on your calculator, it will be 2500 over negative 32. So let's calculate. It will be negative 14 plus square root of 2500 divided by negative 32, and it will be negative 1.125. And the second solution will be negative 14 minus square root of 2500 divided by negative 32, and it will be positive 2. In real life, time can be negative, so we will eliminate this answer, and 2 seconds is your final answer. It means in 2 seconds the diver will reach the surface of the water. We have one more word problem. Okay. A person on a bridge 24 feet above the ground drops his cell phone. The height of the fallen cell phone is modeled by the equation. Now, you can kind of see that you can may finish the graph and it will look like a parabola. How many seconds will it take the cell phone to reach the ground? So when the cell phone hits the ground, your h will be equal to 0. In other words, we have to solve the quadratic equation. And before I solve it, I will find my a is negative 16, b is 8, and c is 24. So let's use the quadratic formula. We have negative 8 plus minus square root 8 to the second power minus 4 times negative 16 times 24 over 2 times negative 16. So let's simplify. If you calculate this expression, it will be 1600 over 32. And if you type it on a calculator, you will have two answers. One is x is equal to negative 1, and second is x is equal to 1.5. Again, we will eliminate negative answer and we will keep just positive answer. And this is our final answer. And this is the last problem. Again, a tourist in a sightseeing balloon drop a cell phone again, and it is 220 feet above. And the trajectory of the cell phone will be written with this formula. And we need to find in how many seconds will this cell phone hit the ground. Again, the height will be 0. And I will change it to a full quadratic formula. It will be like this: -16 t to the second power plus 0t plus 220. So my a is -16, my b is 0, my c is 220. Let's calculate. We will calculate right here. We will use the quadratic formula because we have 0 on this side. It means we need to find the x-intercept. -0 plus minus square root 0 to the second power minus 4 times -16 times 220 over 2 times -16. It will be 0 plus minus square root of 14,080 over -32. And if you type this expression on your calculator, you will get the first answer, x1 is -3.008, and second will be x2, 3.708 positive. Because we're talking about time, we will eliminate the negative answer and we will keep the positive answer. So, if we look at the quadratic equations, there are two types of questions. Sometimes they ask you about the highest point. It means they ask you about vertex. Or they will ask you when an object hits the ground. Hits the ground, it means the height is 0, and you have to use the quadratic formula to find the solution to this equation.